In a shocking twist, just weeks before the highly anticipated budget, Labour's Chancellor Rachel Reeves is reportedly considering a massive hike to capital gains tax, with rates potentially reaching as high as 39%. This unprecedented move, described by insiders as a desperate attempt to fill a gaping fiscal hole, has thrown the Chancellor's economic strategy into disarray, with fears mounting that such drastic measures could backfire spectacularly. Senior Whitehall officials have expressed concern that these plans, hastily cobbled together, risk alienating investors and worsening the already fragile state of the UK economy. Rachel Reeves and her team are grappling with a significant financial shortfall, with the Institute for Fiscal Studies estimating a budget gap as large as £25 billion. In a frantic effort to secure funding for essential public services, the Treasury is currently weighing up CGT increases ranging from 33% to 39%. These potential hikes, which would affect around 350,000 taxpayers, primarily target individuals who sell assets such as second homes, stocks and bonds. At present, CGT rates are significantly lower, with second home sales taxed at 24% and other investments taxed between 18% and 28%. This sudden push to increase CGT has ignited panic across financial markets and among wealthy individuals, many of whom are already reconsidering their investments in the UK. Critics argue that the potential exodus of wealthier citizens could ultimately cause more harm than good, draining investment from key sectors and further undermining the country's economic recovery. The situation inside Whitehall appears chaotic, with one senior official describing the Chancellor's fiscal plans as being in complete disarray. According to insiders, major tax decisions are being left to the very last minute, increasing concerns that Labour's rushed and poorly coordinated strategy could have devastating consequences. Some very big tax decisions are being left until very late in the day, one official noted, pointing to a growing sense of urgency within the Treasury. Despite this, other officials have dismissed the mounting speculation as pure rumour, refusing to comment on any specific tax decisions ahead of the budget on October 30th. However, the silence from senior Labour figures on CGT, particularly Keir Starmer and Reeves herself, has only fuelled further speculation. While national insurance, income tax and VAT increases have been ruled out, the ongoing dodging of CGT questions has left many wondering whether Labour is prepared to make a bold and potentially disastrous move in the coming weeks. Labour's refusal to commit to a zero tax rise policy, even during the general election campaign, has drawn heavy criticism from opponents who accuse the party of not being transparent with the public. The increasing likelihood of a CGT hike has also raised questions about the long-term viability of such a policy. Financial experts have warned that simply raising taxes on capital gains without broader reforms to the system could result in only short-term benefits, with minimal revenue increases over time. One senior Labour source argued that the party's financial strategy is focused on fairness, reiterating Reeves's stance that Labour's goal is to avoid raising taxes on working people. However, Reeves has come under fire for her vague definition of working people, which she described as those who go out to work. Critics claim that this overly broad definition fails to account for the real economic impact that higher taxes on investments and savings could have on middle-income earners, particularly those who rely on pensions or second homes for their retirement income. The question of who will bear the brunt of Labour's tax hikes remains hotly debated, although Labour's top brass insists that wealthy individuals and private equity firms are the primary targets of any CGT increase. There are growing concerns that such measures could push Britain's wealthiest to relocate overseas, leaving an even bigger financial hole behind. Officials within the Treasury have reportedly warned that targeting non-doms and private equity bosses may not raise the expected revenue and could, in fact, cost the government millions in lost tax contributions. The Chancellor's proposals have faced even greater scrutiny following reports that the government is considering taxing employer pension contributions as part of their broader tax strategy. The IFS has estimated that taxing these contributions could raise an additional £17 billion annually, but economists warn that the move could have far-reaching consequences, including increased wage bills for businesses. For now, Reeves and her team appear to be focusing on CGT as the most viable solution to the government's financial woes. But this strategy is fraught with risk. With just weeks to go until the budget, Labour's handling of the crisis has been met with mounting scepticism. On Wednesday, Starmer was once again bombarded with questions about Labour's tax plans, particularly in regard to CGT. However, he failed to provide any concrete answers, instead focusing on Labour's broader commitment to maintaining public services and supporting working people. This ambiguity has done little to calm fears within the financial sector. Many investors are already taking steps to protect their assets ahead of any potential tax hikes. Without a clear and transparent strategy, Labour risks alienating key stakeholders at a time when the UK economy can ill afford further instability. Under fire, adding to the storm, Labour has come under intense criticism for its spending priorities in the midst of these proposed tax hikes. During a heated debate on GB News, presenter Martin Daubney took Labour to task over their decision to cut winter fuel payments for thousands of pensioners, while seemingly finding billions to strike deals with train drivers' unions. Daubney clashed with former Labour advisor Paul Richards, accusing the party of placing the interests of union workers above those of the country's most vulnerable citizens. "It's madness," Daubney exclaimed. £10 billion for train drivers and nothing for pensioners who could freeze to death this winter. Where are your priorities? Richards, clearly on the defensive, insisted that Labour was doing everything in its power to clean up the economic mess left by the previous Conservative government. The job Rachel Reeves has to do is to try and repair some of the damage done over the past 14 years of lack of investment and productivity, he countered. But Daubney wasn't having it. "You're choosing train drivers over pensioners," Daubney shot back. "How can you justify that? It's a disaster in the making, and thousands of lives could be at risk this winter." The clash has only heightened the public's concern about Labour's ability to manage the country's finances effectively. Age UK has already raised alarms over the impact of the cuts, estimating that 4 out of every 5 pensioners living near or below the poverty line will lose their winter fuel payments. As Daubney and Richards sparred on live television, the growing anger and frustration over Labour's spending policies became all too clear. Many pensioners feel betrayed by a party that promised to protect them, only to pull the rug out from under them as the cost of living crisis deepens. In a further blow to Labour's reputation, former Home Secretary Suella Braverman has slammed far-left extremists for stifling free speech after a pro-Palestinian group succeeded in shutting down her scheduled speech at Cambridge University. Braverman had been due to speak at the Cambridge University Conservative Association, CUCA, but the event was cancelled after threats of protest from the group, leading to concerns over safety. Appearing on GB News with Nigel Farage, Braverman condemned the protesters as bullies who are silencing conservative voices on university campuses. She expressed her frustration at what she described as a chilling atmosphere, where free speech is being suffocated by politically motivated protests. Braverman warned that far-left activists are becoming increasingly emboldened, creating a culture of fear that prevents open and honest debate on contentious issues like immigration and Israel-Palestine relations. This incident is just the latest in a series of clashes between conservative speakers and far-left groups on university campuses, reigniting the national debate over the role of free speech in academic institutions.